This is my wife's response to me after we had a heated debate about my inability to function in society. Well, it's more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. The conflict is I'm homeless, sleeping in a car for reasons. That's the reason why I started Runday to begin with, and that's the reason why I started my 2 cent to begin with. And this is the conflict that I'm having in general.
I asked you, Paul. You said you want to go to Florida to go to school. Okay. Since you want to go to Florida to school,
I haven't watched all of
what
it.
plans do you have when it comes to where to stay? You said you don't know yet. When you get there, you figure.
Also, in the context of Runday, because the video's probably gonna die because I don't have any power. But in the context of Runday, I want to start by saying there's a diary, there's a planner, and there's a journal. The diary is your past, your journal is your journey, which you should be actively engaged in every day. And a planner is how you make decisions about the future. The biggest problem that I have with my wife is that she doesn't want to operate in the fourth dimension, which is the reason why I created my 2 cent clock to begin with. Because you want to take things from the future and justify your past. You want to pull things from the past to justify what's going to happen in your future. And you want to constantly manipulate the reality of the present so that you can have a position of authority and no accountability. If you want to have a position of authority, you should also have accountability. If you don't want to be accountable, you should let somebody else take charge and be in control. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be overpowering and disrespectful of you, but you don't get to do both. You don't get to be in charge and then blame a subordinate for failures. If you're in a position of authority, when a subordinate does something that you ask them to do, you have to take accountability for the decisions that they make or don't make. The outcome of the situation has to be on you. If you don't want to do that, then you can't be in an authoritative role. It's not get all respect and accountability and don't take any responsibility for anything that happens. A general manager of a fast food restaurant is responsible for running the kitchen, right? They are told by, if a general manager didn't have any crew and somebody came in like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I don't have any crew. He'll be like, why aren't you making me any money? I don't have anybody to work for me. You're the general manager. You're 100% responsible for me not making any money right now. You don't get to tell me that you don't have a crew. You don't get to make excuses for why the store is not being ran, because you are in a role that is both accountable and responsible. So in this dynamic between me and my wife, as the man, I'm supposed to hold the role of accountable and responsible because that's the way it has been designed by nature, God, nature, whatever. Men have to be in a role of accountability and have to be in a role of responsibility, because we have to protect our wives and we have to protect childbearing humans when they're at their most vulnerable after delivery. So in that little bitty in that small window of vulnerability that women experience after childbirth, men have to rise up and be both accountable and responsible. So I'm gonna let this 12-minute audio of her bitching at me about the quality of my life play, because it's relevant to what I'm doing with Runday.
I asked you, Paul. You said you want to go to Florida to go to school. Okay. Since you want to go to Florida to school, what plans do you have when it comes to where to stay? You said you don't know yet. When you get there, you figure it out. Okay, can you live at your cousin's place? What's that your cousin's name? I keep forgetting her name. Tunisha, right? Can you live at her place, pending when you can afford an apartment? You were like, no, I'm not going to stay with anybody called Tunisha. I'm not going there. I'm like, fine. Okay, Paul. Why don't you stay and raise more money so that when you get there, you won't be stranded? You were like, oh, that's what you've been doing. You made how much? $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, and then you embarked on a journey to Florida. Getting to Florida, your car broke down, and you didn't think that, let me just keep trying to manage this car pending when I get an apartment. You refused. You spent all the money you saved once and used it to buy a new car. Like, now you bought a new car, what would you do now? You start living in this money you spent in buying a new car would have been more than enough for you to get an apartment. And you don't even need a car when you have an apartment. You can just walk to school, take a ride to school. There are people that don't have car. Take a ride to school without having to spend all the money to fixing a car or buying a new car. You refused to do that. You left it. You bought a new car. Like, you didn't even tell me, because if you had told me, I would have told you, oh no, Paul, I don't think you should buy a new car. You bought a new car, you were so happy, sent me a picture of a new car. Like, really? Now you have no money left. You have no place to stay. You're just living in your car, moving around, and then you are upset that they're harassing you for sleeping in your car. Why would they harass you? Imagine if somebody has an apartment, if you had an apartment on the other side, and then there's somebody living in a car that is living in front of your apartment. Like, I don't know how American work, but it doesn't make any sense in Nigeria. You will not be allowed to sleep in your car. Right. The police, they will even kill you. Like, the police, at least your police are there to at least tell you that, well, you can't stay here. You can't be sleeping in the streets. Look for a place to stay. Fine, Florida made life hell for you. And you're like, oh, I'm going to Washington. Oh, where are you going to stay in Washington? Where in Washington? Yeah, okay. I don't know. When I get there, I'll figure it out. Came to Washington, and now you're sleeping in your car again. You don't have anything you're doing. You are just so dumb. You are the dumbest person I've ever met in my entire life. Like, I keep trying to manage you. You are shameless. And then when you have a conversation, oh, I'm living in a car. Even though God, I don't believe in God. What does God has to do with this? Have I said God? I am the Christian. I don't think I've called God the amounts of times that you've called God. I've not called God close to the amount of times you call God. And I am the Christian. And you are the one that said you're not a Christian. You're not a fucking Christian. You're not. The Christianity is stupid. Christianity is that. What does Christianity has to do with you living in your car or you being harassed? The person who is harassing you is probably not a Christian. Even if the person is a Christian, you are being harassed. The person is doing his job. You're attending school. School you could not attend. Study you can't study. You want to be a writer. So imagine somebody who can't spell correctly wants to be a writer. Why don't you learn English? Learn how to write correctly. Look at what you wrote. My solution is not to pray to God. God is a pray. Prey is what? It's not a pray. It's saying that God is, you are a prayer or somebody that they need. What they call pray. Pray. I mean, when a pray is something you use in trying to catch someone, like animals preying on some cannibals preying on other animals. Like, that's what they call prey. Like a lion preying on a zebra. And here you are saying you want to pray to God. Pray, you can't spell it correctly. I'm not gonna bed, bed. You want to say, I'm very sure you want to say, I'm not gonna beg. You can't spell beg, beg. And imaginary, you can't spell an imaginary entity for material resources. Nobody begs God to give them material resources. It's to buy a gas-powered generator. Like, are you all right? You feel like the problem you have right now is to buy a generator. You don't think that, oh, let me sit down and think. You don't even think. I was explaining, I have a white friend I was talking to, explaining to him, like, he was asking after you. And I said, well, I've not seen my husband since last year. My husband, we have been having back and forth fights, and whenever he does that, he stops sending me money, and then he also cut off my lines. Like, it was like, wait, he cut off your lines? Like, what kind of person does that? Like, that's very immature of him. I'm like, well, yeah.
My wife did something that is 100% unforgivable.
It's because...
And I tried to forgive her, but she don't want to change.
I used to cover up for you, but now I don't cover up anymore. When they ask me what is going on between me and my husband, I tell them the truth. I don't lie anymore. Like I used to cover up for you. I don't cover you. Like you are so shameless. I told him that you don't let me, you cut off, if I do anything, what you do is cut off my lines. So I'm trying to just allow you be the person you are right now, because if I complain, the next thing is you cut off my line. Last week, you were supposed to sign you were supposed to submit a document. Since August, you didn't submit it. I kept holding my cool. You didn't submit it. And now it was time for you to sign. You wrote 2023. Like 2024 is about to come to an end, yet you still have you still make that kind of mistake. Like, what kind of dumb person makes such a mistake? Like,
She won't.
and then I was reading through what you filled out for me. You filled nonsense. You didn't even know how to spell my name correctly. You just filled absolute rubbish inside. Like you were planning to have submitted that document on my behalf. You could not. Meanwhile, I have all your names, the spelling of all your names. I have access to even your phone numbers and everything correctly. But you don't have mine. This is somebody that I am married to. Like, I am just the only person married to him. He doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't even care. I'm not worried. And now you are thinking that, oh,
I want to add right now, after she said that I'm living in my fucking car because I love her. Like what more sacrifice does a man have to make to how do you live in your fucking car, get harassed by security at school, and send money to your wife just for her to tell you that you're stupid, you're dumb, and you don't love her? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Because I'm trying really hard not to blame her for every fucking thing, but make it make sense. The decisions that I make as a person are my own. I'm 100% accountable and responsible for the decisions that I make. And the sacrifice that I made to be a husband and a father is worth the sacrifice. But I don't need the extra counterproductive energy of someone working against me and then telling me that it's my fault. Because we should be working together. It shouldn't be you're trying to extract as much from me as you can at my own detriment. And the reason why I'm putting this video online like this is because this is the conversation I have with my wife, but this is the problem with the goddamn world. Like, why do we as humans, we create this entire system and ecosystem to make sure that we didn't have to suffer in ecology. We created an economy to replace the ecology, but we still operate from this unnecessary predator prey mentality of how much can I get from this person without giving them anything. That's a parasitic mentality, right? A parasitic mentality. How much can I get from this individual without having to put anything into this individual? And then when that person gets everything extracted from them and they're left with nothing, the only thing we do is look at them and say, well, you're the problem. It's your fault. You're the reason why you're failing. You're the reason why you're not good enough. You're the reason why you can't be successful in life. And my 2 cents is not for children, because between the ages of 18 and 24, you're indoctrinated into this reality, and then you learn how things work. And then once you get to a place where you can't figure out how to function in this unnecessary dynamic, you give up and you become like everybody else. Okay, I see that being an honest person doesn't work. I see that being respectful doesn't work. I see that being honest doesn't work. So let me be disrespectful. Let me be dishonest. Let me be unkind. Let me be a user. Let me be an abuser. So that's just the reality of the world. Like, why does that have to be the reality of the world? My 2 cents goal is to eliminate that. It's not necessary. Like, it's not necessary at all. Blessing.
Yes, Paul.
No, I'm not cutting your lines off. I have to get ready for my run.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you. Have a good day. Bye.
Asking you for sleeping in your car. You don't think that, oh, let me sit down and think. You don't even think. I was explaining. I
She
have a
deleted
white friend I was talking
her
to, explaining
messages.
to him like he was asking
She
after
say dumb
you,
stuff to me and then she
and I
deletes it.
said, "Well,
That's
I've not
why I'm
seen my
recording
husband
it.
since last year. My husband, we have been having back and forth fights, and whenever he does that, he stops sending me money, and then he also cut off my lines. Like it was like, wait, he cut off your lines? Like, what kind of person does that? Like, that's very immature of him. I'm like, well, yes, because I used to cover up for you, but now I don't cover up anymore. When they ask me what is going on between me and my husband, I tell them the truth. I don't lie anymore. Like I used to cover up for you. I don't cover you. Like you are so shameless. I told him that you don't let me, you cut off. If I do anything, what you do is cut off my lines. So I'm trying to just allow you be the person you are right now, because if I complain, the next thing is you cut off my line. Last week you were supposed to sign you were supposed to submit a document since August. You didn't submit it. I kept holding my cool. You didn't submit it. And now it was time for you to sign. You wrote 2023. Like 2024 is about to come to an end. Yet you still make that kind of mistake. Like, what kind of dumb person makes such a mistake? Like, and then I was reading through what you filled out for me. You filled nonsense. You didn't even know how to spell my name correctly. You just filled absolute rubbish inside. Like you were planning to have submitted that document on my behalf. You could not. Meanwhile, I have all your names, the spelling of all your names. I have access to even your phone numbers and everything correctly. But you don't have mine. This is somebody that I am married to. Like, I am just the only person married to him. He doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't even care. I'm not worried. And now you are thinking that, oh, I'm going to give you a divorce. When you come to America, I'll give you a divorce. And then when you give me a divorce, they deport me back to Nigeria with what? Like, are you all right? Like, don't you sit down to think? Like, what kind of person just acts irrationally? You didn't think to okay, if I divorce this girl, it means she's no longer legally going to bear my name, which means she will not longer be a legal occupant of America. Like, there won't be any need for her to be in America. Then you will have to be the one to give me money and deport me back to Nigeria. Like, what kind of senseless decision is that? You want divorce? Give me the get the divorce papers. Send it to me. I will sign and send it back to you, and then we can be off. You say you don't want to pay my rent, Paul. I'm not going to lie down, kneel down, bend my knee to try and beg you ever again.
Now, this is my wife. I married this woman. This is not my girlfriend. My girlfriend will want her rent paid, and she'd be smart enough to be compassionate and do whatever she needs to do to manipulate me correctly to get what she wants from me. My wife can't even just say please. Like, I'm not the guy that's out there disrespecting her, treating her like I'm already giving her money for rent. I've already given you money for rent. All I asked you to do was chill the fuck out, stop being a bitch, quit being disrespectful. You've had all fucking year to learn how to be compassionate and kind and respectful. And you couldn't do that in a 12-month span after you've already received money. So you can't even act like, well, I don't think that he's going to give me the money. I've already been giving you the money. So what is the problem? What is the actual issue? And the reason why this isn't me making a video to bash my wife. This is me making a video to explain the foundation of what exactly my 2 cents is trying to be.
I'm not. If you don't want to pay the rent, it's fine. And sit down and expect me to be kicked out of my apartment. I will figure something out. I will try to figure something out. You don't want to send me money for food? No problem. The money that I spent for the police certificate, if you don't want to give it back to me, Paul, it's not an issue. It's not a problem, Paul. I would figure something out. And I'm not going to call you to beg you, Paul. I won't. I'm tired of this childish back and forth thing. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you for being a wife. And then you call, and then you, Jesus, I'm tired. So yeah, Paul, I'm even more tired than you are. Whatever you want to do, do. If you want to go and buy a power plant, go and buy a transformer. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. Whenever money touches your hand, the only thing that you think about is how to recklessly spend it. Now, money has touched your hand. What you want to do is buy a generator, and then somebody will arrest you for owning a generator at a place, and then you blame government, you blame white people for whatever shit that is done to you. Why don't you get an apartment and you pay for electricity bills, and then you have access to electricity? You don't want to do that. You want to buy a generator. Like, I don't have a phone. I have money to buy a phone, and then you went to use the money to buy a battery. Where would you use the battery for? Like, you need a phone, you need a place. And the first thing that came to your mind when money touched your hand is to buy electricity. Jesus, I'm 42 years old. You're still this dumb? The fuck? Like, huh? You are so immature. I thought your uncle was you are even worse, Paul. Like, we wake up every morning, let's talk about racism. The Americans, the white people hate the black Caucasians, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Nigeria, when we hate the government, we all migrate to other places. Iran, Iraq, they are fighting. They are citizens, they are women, and they are migrating, immigrating to the US. You that is black, that is there, that is being oppressed, why have you not left to a place where you will be accepted? Why?
There is no place.
Why sit down and complain? The people in Iraq that immigrated to the US, are they complaining?
Yes.
They moved there for refuge. Why are you still there? Why the fuck are you still there?
Why are you
Why
trying to
don't you
come
immigrate to somewhere else? Go to Africa. Africa is this. Africa is... Come to Africa and experience what they call freedom. Experience benefits in Nigeria. Come to Nigeria. You will be well treated. Stupid Americans that you people are. Nonsense.
Past diary, present planner. No. Present journal, future planner. First, I want to address the issue of my inability to spell, because I can't spell. I make very bad spelling, a lot of bad spelling errors. My wife keeps trying to get me to understand that the problem in my life is not racism, it's me, right? I have a memory in my head when I was a child in school. I was studying in school with white children, with Caucasian children. I was in a public education system in America with other children my age. I was separated from the class and told to memorize the words. I remember clearly looking over at the other students without any actual information in my brain about what was going on. And now that I look back on it, I can understand. But at the time, I couldn't understand what was happening. I remember clearly these Caucasian-ass white women separating me from the other children and telling me to memorize the words. because I had an exceptionally good memory as a child. The reason why I am able to function as an adult is because of my exceptional memory. The conflict that I have as an adult is that my memory is failing me because I am an adult. So if you don't put the core foundation of basic academics into a child, when they become an adult, it falls apart. And it's only because I'm intelligent that I'm able to continue to hold things together. But the foundation is not there. And you know why the foundation isn't there? Because the teachers didn't give it to me. The teachers actively went out of their way not to teach me phonics, but gave me a fucking book at the age of like 6 or 7, maybe even younger, and said, memorize these words. Who remembers the entire English language? Why would you teach a child to memorize the entire English language? Why wouldn't you teach them phonics? The only reason that I'm intelligent, and it's the main core value of why I choose to be a writer, is because I read a lot as a child. I read all the time. Even though I couldn't spell, I read a lot. When I went into college at the age of 17 and I took the placement test and they gave me my scores, that's when I realized I was fucking stupid. Because everything was like 10th grade, 12th grade, 9th grade, except for spelling. Spelling was 4th grade. And I looked at the transcript and I said, how is it that I spell at a 4th grade level? As soon as I looked at it, I picked the book up and I read the book and I'm like, how do I spell because I'm reading the words, I'm like, how do I spell at a 4th grade level? That doesn't make any sense. My spelling is 4th grade, but I can read thermodynamics, I can read quantum mechanics. How do I can recognize Mississippi, and there's not a single word in the dictionary that I can't read. Like, there's very few words I come across that I can't know. There's not a word that I can't look at and know its definition as a person that is fluent in English. But there are tons of words that even though I know what they are, when I see them as a definition, that I can't pronounce because I was never given a foundation of phonics. And I wasn't given a foundation of phonics by white women. That's what makes it fucking racism. I don't get to go back in time and tell myself as a child, hey, I need you to focus more on learning photonics, right? Because you know why I don't have a phonics system? Nobody fucking cares about me. So I didn't have normal interactions with people, and I wasn't speaking to people every day on a normal interactive level. So I didn't learn phonics because as a child, I wasn't having conversations because the people around me were stupid. So I wasn't having natural conversations every day to develop a natural phonics system. But I read so much as an introvert that I still built a core foundation of fluent English. That's why it's racism. That's the reason why I always go back to racism, because of that very specific core value. And it continued throughout my life. It constantly continued. In high school, I wanted to be an electrical engineer. You know what they put me in? Creative writing. I went to the counselor and said, I don't want to be a creative writer. I want to be an electrical engineer. I want to learn electrical engineering. Wasn't given the opportunity. I took art in school because art is very fluent in my family. My family is a family of artists. The artists around me couldn't teach me. Not every apprentice is going to have a master. Sometimes a person that is next to you is not the best teacher for you. Sometimes the people around you that have the information that you need can't teach you that information, which is the core foundation of my 2 cents. But when I went to school, I wanted to be an artist. So I should have been able to take art. My art teacher had asthma and was out for the entire term that I was in class for art. I was sent to the music class with no musical instrument every day. Did they provide me with the resources that I need to potentially take music as an elective? No, they did not. Every day I got up and I didn't have a first class because art was my first class. So I went to school on my second class. Every day my mother would bitch and complain at me because I was up ready for school and I didn't go to my first class because I was a child. PC, why aren't you going to school? You need to go to your first class. Ma, I don't have a first class. I have an art class. I don't have an art teacher. They don't have a class for me. I don't get there's nothing. There's literally nothing for me to do on my first hour. Well, you need to go to school. I don't know why you're in the house. You should be every fucking day. I lived right across the street from school. So my second hour, I would just leave. I would look at the clock and go to school in my second hour. I got an A+ in art. I showed up. I never showed up. I never was there for attendance. But they gave me an A+ for art because they don't fucking care. Society doesn't give a fuck. It's just art. It doesn't matter. So I got an A for a class that I never attended. And I got bitched at by my mother every fucking day like I was some delinquent not trying to do anything with my life. Every fucking day. My school was across the fucking street. I told my mother every day that this was a situation at the age of 15. She didn't listen to me because I was a fucking child. She pulled me out of school because I didn't want to go to school. After I showed her my report card with the A on it for my first elective, she still didn't fucking care. She still didn't care. She pulled me out of school and sent me to an all-boys school. If you don't want to go to school, I'm going to teach you how to be responsible and how to be an adult. Like, ma, I am a responsible adult. I don't understand what I have to do objectively to, like, now that I'm an adult, I can articulate myself, but as a 15-year-old, I didn't have the information. She sent me to that school. Me and the counselor, me and the principal literally had an entire conversation with my mom in the background whining and complaining like a woman. Me and him had a whole conversation that she's not even aware of. And basically what he said to me was, I kind of understand what's going on right now. Your mother's sending you here because she's trying to punish you. He said, look, between me and you, you got these classes on your record that you need to fix. If you stay here, he said, if you stay here and go to this school, because this is not a prison, this isn't like some place where bad kids go. This is just a regular high school structured in a way to help you guys excel. There are certain situations in life that young kids need, and this school is designed in such a way to try to address some of that. I can tell you that you don't need to be here. You can go back to your other school, but you have about a year and a half of schooling that you need to repair, because when I left Washington to go to Michigan, they didn't listen to me as a child. My transcripts were all messed up. Nobody listens to children. So he said, you have about a year and a half worth of school that you have to fix. If you take free summer schools and free night schools from now to the day that you graduate, you will graduate on time and it'll all be free. And as soon as he said it'll all be free, I said, it'll be free. He said, it'll be free. All you have to do is enroll. I said, okay, I'll enroll. Because he was like, your mother can't make you come to the school. I won't enroll you if you don't want to be here. If you don't want to be here, I won't make you be here. Guess what ethnicity he was? African American. Guess what? Male. Men. A fucking man. Understood what was going on between the dynamic of me and my mother. He understood the dynamic that was taking place and was able to actually address the issue that was relevant to the situation. That's the core foundation of my 2 cents. It's understanding that all of this noise has to be adjusted for so that you can actually figure out what you need to do with yourself in your life, right? So that's what he actually did. This is the reason why self-improvement through self-education, because the goal of fixing, it wasn't like I was stupid or dumb or retarded. It wasn't like I didn't understand reality. It was just, you need these points on these paperwork and you need to do these things this way so that you can actually be the person you're trying to be. So when you leave school, you can have a high school diploma, right? Where I work right now, my GM, Caucasian woman, she's got no fucking education. She told me yesterday she's trying to go back to school to get her GED. Is she stupid? No. Is she dumb? No. Did she just not apply herself? No. She got pregnant. She got pregnant. And society doesn't make an exception for children, for girls that wind up being pregnant. Like, this happens. So why don't you have a system put in place to help underage pregnancies actually get their degree? You know how difficult it is for a child after they have how difficult it is for a child after they have a child to become educated. You know what that is. You know how that works. Why don't you actually have something put in place for that? They don't. So she's still, after having 3 kids and is married, she's still trying to get her GED. And then you'll look at her like, oh, you didn't graduate from high school. Like, no, she's a mother. Why does that have to be a problem? Why does there always have to be this unnecessary immature, negative energy to everything in life. I'm going to say this one last point for this video specifically. And every problem that I have in my life is the decisions that I have made. I spent my entire life being alone. I spent my entire life living by myself, being a functional adult. I wanted to be, from the very day that I was able to understand what it meant, I've always wanted to be a husband and a father. I've always wanted to have a partner that would love and support me at that level. I grew up in that environment, and I wanted to be a part of that when I became an adult. That's the reason why I got married. That's the reason why I have a child. That's the reason why I had to spend 18 years of my life paying child support to a woman that didn't care about me. Because my desire to do the things that I wanted to do was not compatible with the way the world has painted the picture of me before I got a chance to paint my own fucking picture. All that stuff that my wife just said in that video is based on the simple fact that when I got out of the military, I got out of the military in March. We got married in November. March, November, right? You see this window? I did all of the fucking planning and the managing and every fucking thing. I did all of the shit that needed to take place. The first thing my wife likes to say is, you didn't do anything. I had to fill out all the paperwork. I had to do all the work. I had to do this. I had to do that. The truth is, I asked her to do the extra shit that she felt needed to be done for me. But the reality is, she doesn't have access to my social security numbers. She doesn't have access to my bank account. She doesn't have access to my birth certificate. She doesn't have access to any of the information that is relevant to me without me giving it to her. What does she say? I know all of your parents' information and your NCO because I gave you the information. So you want me to accept that I'm fucking stupid, but the information that you have came from me, which means that I gave you the information. So you say that you don't know anything, but I know everything about you because you got the information from the person you says doesn't know anything. But I digress, right? I'm digressing. When I got out of the military, first thing I did was move to my mother. After moving in with my mother, the very next thing I did within like 3 or 4 weeks, about maybe 3 or 4 weeks. No, not 3 or 4 weeks. About, let's say 2 months. Let's say 2 months. It feels like 3 or 4 weeks, but it probably was more like 2 months because you have to have a certain amount of time built up before you can achieve an objective, and to include $430 a month in child support. When I got in the military, I was still paying $430 a month in child support. The very first thing I did was got an apartment. While I was budgeting my money to go to Nigeria to get married to my wife, I would send her money. I would say, Blessing, this is the money for you. This is the money for the wedding. And this is the money I need to save to be able to get there and come back. Every time I would send this woman money, the first thing she would say is, Paul, I know you said the money you sent for me, the money you sent to me was for me, but I used it for the wedding. She did that the whole time we were getting married. So by the time November came around for me to actually go to Nigeria, I didn't have any fucking money. And I'm looking at my account like, where's all my money? I don't understand why I don't have no money. And then I was doing the math and trying to figure it all out. And then I realized, like, at the moment, I was like, I'm not trying to be like blaming her or trying to be all that negative. I don't need all that negative energy and stuff. I don't have time for that. The calculations are just off. I didn't make enough. I didn't earn enough. I'm not really worrying about it. But she kept wanting to be a fucking bitch. So I went back and did the audit. And I'm like, I gave all my fucking money to her. I gave all the money that I needed to provide for myself to her. Do you know how much money? What did I say? I said that I owe $4,000 roughly in the amount of money that I owe for my eviction is $4,000. I pay $430 a month in child support. So the money that I wasn't getting in child support is the eviction. It has absolutely nothing to do with my wife. It's literally the fucking child support. The reason why I'm in my car isn't because my wife is just being a bitch. But the actual core value reason, if you do the math of why I'm living in my car, is because I got out of the military too fucking early and I was still paying child support. Because I had enough resources to manage and do everything. But had I been getting the extra money from child support, I was working at Tim Hortons making like $14 an hour. No, $12 an hour. That's how I was paying my child support. I would go there and work, and they would take the money from that check for child support so I could make $15.50 at McDonald's, right? As a GM. Those checks that I was getting from Tim Hortons, $35, $50, $75. Imagine working 20 hours a week at a job and getting a $50 check as an American. As an American. Imagine a man working for 2 weeks and then you hand him a $75 check. Imagine working for 2 fucking weeks part-time and somebody hands you a check and it's $75. What do you do? How do you function? And there's no protection for men. It's just like the world doesn't fucking care. Women have the opportunity to get a fucking abortion, but men don't have the right to sign away their rights if a woman gets pregnant and wants to be a fucking bitch. You should not have the right to sign away your rights for a child. You have to be responsible for that child. But the same way that they think that men should be responsible for their children, the system should force women to give their child over to the father so the father can raise the child so he doesn't have to pay fucking child support. But if they did that, they wouldn't make any fucking money. That's why I call it institutional racism. That's why it's institutional racism. Because I didn't do anything at the age of 19 to justify automatically being put on child support. The only thing I did was fail to be a fucking tap dancing coon. That's all I failed at, was subjugating myself and reducing who I am to a fucking nigger in 2022? 2002. Why should I? Everybody keeps telling me that racism doesn't exist. Discrimination is not really a thing anymore. But you can see the reality of the world that I live in. Am I responsible for all of this shit? Did I create the conditions that exist? Or am I functioning in a dysfunctional reality? Which one is it? Am I responsible for everything that's going on in the world? Or am I living in the same reality that you're living in? And while you're walking around pretending like it doesn't fucking exist, I'm being functional. Which one is it? I explained to my wife that I didn't have enough money to do the things I needed to do. You know what she did? The same thing you just heard her doing there. Bitching and fucking complaining about the future, about the past. Wasting my fucking life. Whining and complaining, not being accountable or responsible. So the next time a woman tells you that she doesn't have to be fucking submissive, don't fucking call her back. If you are a man and you're ever dealing with a woman and she opens her fucking mouth up and says she don't want to be submissive or she don't believe in submission or any of that shit, don't even waste your time calling her back. I can promise you that you're saving yourself a fucking headache. I can promise you the capacity to just be in a cooperative relationship with someone is the core foundation of submission. It doesn't mean that she's wrong. It doesn't mean that you're superior. It just simply means that if you and I have a disagreement, we will go with your plan because you are the fucking head. You're going to be accountable and responsible. When you make a decision, I'm going to support you as best as I can so that if it goes sideways, you can be responsible and accountable. You know what some non-submissive women do? They make sure you fucking fail so they can say, I told you so. My wife is upset with me right now because she wants $1,200 for rent. What did she do all fucking year to help me pay her fucking rent? Nothing. She tells me that I'm stupid, fucking dumb, childish, can't spell, don't know how to stand straight, that I'm ugly, that I can't make decisions, I'm irrational. How is any of that relevant to me getting up going to work every day? All you want to do is write. All you want to do is talk to your uncle. All you do is blah, 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 right in their fucking mouth. And it's not 100% of women. It's just the ones that do it. And that's the conflict. The conflict when it comes to men is that we entertain that bullshit. My wife has a long line of men that put up with her shit so they can have sex with her. And now she's mad at me for trying to actually be a legitimate, decent human being. I don't have time for that energy. Christianity, I say Christianity because they said that they exist for the good of humanity. Their mission statement is we want to make humanity a better place to live. If you read this Bible, it will make you a better human being. They have the worst track record of any fucking institution with any mission statement out there. You don't get to say reading the Bible will make you a better person and then have a bunch of fucked up ass people that define themselves as Christians and say they're not Christian. That's not how that shit works. That's not how that shit works. Science doesn't do that. Science doesn't say follow science and you'll be a better person. Science says these principles help you achieve your objective. I want to build a combustion engine. Here's the information you need. A person that has never did anything in mechanics can be given a book, mechanics. Can be given a book, mechanics. I have this idea for this device that I want to design. Here's a book that will help you with that. That's science. I want to fly through the air. Here's a book. It's called Aerodynamics. It will teach you all the principles you need to know how to fly. Oh, I just want to fly like a bird. That's not possible. Here's the book that explains why that's not possible. I'm not being mean. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not trying to crush your dreams. I'm just saying that a couple decades of information has been put into this rigorous document to give you so that you can save yourself some time and energy. I want to go into space. Here's all of the information you need on rocket technology and thermodynamics. But I just want to go. Can I just walk? No, that's not how this works. Here's all the information that you need in this book. We call it thermodynamics and rocketry. It will give you the information you need to get you started to go into fucking space. That's science. That's fucking science. You know, now that I'm an adult, give somebody one fucking book and say this is all you need for the rest of your life. How? How do I go to school for 12 years and get different books for different studies for 12 years, but you tell me this one book is all I will need for the rest of your life? That's why I created the My 2 Cent Life Planner. Because the reality is your life is the only information you need for the rest of your life. You should be writing your own fucking Bible. You should be governing yourself. You should be writing down the things that worked and the things that didn't work so that you can reflect on yourself. You don't have to ask anybody else. You don't have to go around and get other people's information. You can use your own information. You're alive. You've lived. Imagine if you documented your relationship with your first girlfriend. And then when you were having problems with your second girlfriend, you could just look at your relationship with your first girlfriend and ask yourself, is this information relevant to the current relationship I'm in, or am I projecting? Is she doing this stuff to me, or am I just upset about past experiences? That would make you a better person. That is the core foundation of My 2 Cent. I don't have all of the fucking answers, but I have answers. I don't think that I'm smart. I don't think that I'm perfect. I don't think that I'm the best person in the world. I know that I am a flawed, limited human being. I am a finite being living a finite experience, and I'm not going to be here that long. I want to be morally sound, ethically sound, and have good values and follow laws. That's what I want to do. And I should be able to do that. I don't have a problem with the quality of my life. I'm perfectly content making the necessary sacrifices to be a husband and a father. I don't have a problem with that. The conflict that I have when it comes to my wife specifically is the counterproductive energy of making me be the failure so that she can say that she told me so. That's not counterproductive. That's not productive. That's counterproductive. That's not helping us get anywhere in life. I don't have the money that I need because I keep wasting it reacting to shit. I shouldn't be waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how I'm going to power my laptop so that I could get $700 for rent, $700 from the school to pay my rent and utilities and bills. I shouldn't have to be doing that. Not as an American, not at the age of 42. But what does my wife want to do? She wants me to operate under my potential and be a failure, but she also expects me to be able to provide for her. That's called a fucking nigger. That is the foundation, core value of what a nigger fucking is. And it doesn't matter if it's racism. It doesn't matter if it's just blatant disrespect. The reality is that we've already established the core value of the reality, and we've already been told you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. If you're trying to have sex with the girl and she's willing to have sex with you, that's called consent, right? Anything outside of that dynamic is called rape. Those are just values that help us communicate and exchange realities. We don't need any fucking extra. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's not hard. Life's not difficult. People just need to distract you and confuse you so that they can feel better about themselves. Instead of just taking the time to recognize the problems that they have, addressing those issues, and pushing forward with their life. You want to tell me that I'm stupid and dumb because I'm not making the same decisions that you're making. Guess what? I'm not you. I'm not you. What you like, I don't like. I like pickles. I'm going to go out of my way to go find a fucking pickle. You like Doritos. You're going to go out of your way to find Doritos. If I tell you that I'm going to look for a pickle, the first thing you're going to do is say, man, we should go look for a Dorito. I don't want Doritos. You want Doritos. I will help you find your Doritos if you help me find my pickle. But wasting my energy and trying to convince me that I want to fucking pick a Dorito because you want a Dorito is counter fucking productive. I don't need you to distract and confuse me for what you want. Hey, while you're out looking for a pickle, if you see some Doritos, let me know. That's called humanity. It's that fucking simple. Doesn't have to be harder or more complicated than that.